Hi, I'm Eric Enga. I'm the CEO of Stone Temple Consulting. We are a holistic internet marketing optimization firm, whatever it is that happens to mean. And I'm here again with Stefan Weitz in what's becoming a regular series of discussions about new social integrations from Bing. How cool is that?
It's very cool. And Eric, I think you can just basically say you're the premier digital online SEO, SEM marketing service on the whole planet, and you'd be fine.
That's excellent, but as I like to think of it, it's much better when you say it than when I do. So the case of wine or whatever it is you choose is going to be shipped to
Like
you.
some Metro Mint water would be great. Yeah.
Yes, and here we are, by the way, both showing our unshaven looks. Um, so I think that shows that the search industry remains a casual place to hang out. So that's a good thing. So
I did chat.
yes, a brief reintroduction to you would be great.
Sure. My name is Stefan Weitz, as it was last time. I work at Bing. I do a lot of work with startups, entrepreneurs, academics, venture capitalists to really understand where search is going and how to advance the state of the art. And then work with the product teams both to help incorporate those things into the product as well as evangelize those things once they actually reach the product.
Cool. And I really like that you're continuing with these social integrations. The latest is Quora. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, great. Core is a great one. It's one of those things that we looked at. We always had it kind of in our back of our heads. We wanted to go attack this data set because it is such a different data set than, say, Facebook or Twitter or whatnot. Because in many cases, you get these layers of answers, and they're layers for answers on a variety of topics. I'm just looking at the stream here coming in. I see Jodie Foster was one that had a high Quora. So there must have been a discussion on Quora about that. Now, you could get a bunch of information on Jodie Foster in standard search, and you could even maybe see one of your friends like the movie she was in with our current implementation of social search in the sidebar. But really, Quora expands kind of the canvas of what one could talk about when looking for particular things online.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. You're really tapping into, human research done by, a wide variety of individuals in response to a very wide variety of questions.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about it is I think of it almost as a faceted model because what it allows you to do is take something like let's see what's popping here right now, American Express, OK Cupid, these things are popping up, and now American Express is a big, very ambiguous term, right? A very ambiguous phrase, and with the ability of things like Quora, you've got this ability to now look at all these different potential facets about what people are saying on American Express. Is it about the cards? Is it about commercials? Is it about rewards points? Is it about how to avoid late fees and whatnot? Who knows? But really, we're relying on the power of people to help disambiguate and help make sense of these utterances that we're seeing in search engines.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that you're going to get, I'm going to try to phrase this the right way, sort of a more human flavor to the information you're getting. Not that you don't get a human flavor on websites, but because of the overhead that it takes to put something on a website, even a blog, it tends to be, I guess, a little less raw than it might be in a Quora type environment. Does that
That's
make sense?
right. I think so. I think you're getting kind of more, not quite real time, I'd say, because that's really where we see a lot of value in Twitter and whatnot. Although
Yep.
Quora is very updated very, very frequently as well. But you are just getting, you're getting again a different angle. And the whole point of what we were doing when it came to all the social integration was to say, how do people in real life actually do things? And they do things by talking to others about topics. We very rarely do anything at all in a vacuum. And so the notion and the ability for us to take this open approach to the ecosystem and embed all these partners right in the social sidebar to replicate that very human emotion and very human characteristic of involving others in decision making, we think is kind of the next evolution of search because up till now it's been a very mathematical process.
Right, understood. Yeah, and I think that's a good thread here, which is this notion that you are tapping into different kinds of data sets. And I scratched down some notes for this call just to remind myself of some of these things. But it's like personal opinion is something that you'll get this way, like what someone thinks about a restaurant, for example. We talked about that last time with
Yep.
Foursquare or things like that. a debate that's taking place, and tapping in and seeing that a debate is taking place in a way it might not be as readily exposed on a website. And also just very personal bits of knowledge that, so there's different kinds of data sets. Does that make sense? That these are some of the kinds of things that are coming out?
Yeah, it's not just that the different data, you're absolutely right, but what's really, I think, fascinating is that all these conversations are happening everywhere around us all the time. And unlike the days of yore, they're all being, not all, but many of them are being recorded, either typed directly or recorded verbally or recorded as a podcast and a speech. And so really, it's not as though we say anymore or do anymore, but the ability for something like Bing to find that little needle in the haystack, that information haystack, and bring it right into your search experience right when you think you might need it, that's the magic. And that's why it's so cool, is because as all the things you pointed out, those are all things that get blown out into the ether. But until now, you've had no real way to, especially seamlessly inside a search, get those things injected into the experience.
Right. Well, and effectively, at some level, you're recording and making dialogue searchable.
That's right. You're making dialogue searchable, and you're actually enabling dialogue from within the sidebar. If you remember correctly, in the sidebar, you can actually start conversations with Facebook friends and whatnot about different topics. So the ability, again, to look at that natural human inclination to engage in a conversation when making a decision, which is 90% of us do that. I mean, we're hardwired that way.
Right.
And so we said, how can we reduce the friction online? And that's why the sidebar came about. That's why these different data sources come about. And that's why we allow you to have these conversations in that sidebar to actually help you get feedback and information from people you might know on different topics.
Right. And some kind of fits into a theme that I've been speaking about lately, which is trying to get publishers of websites to really stop thinking about, gee, how am I going to get more traffic from search, or how am I going to get more traffic from social? Or it's like, okay, what's my strategy to get more business from the web, and not view them as separate things? Mm-hmm. It's not one over here, it's not one there. It's an ecosystem, and you really want to address the whole thing. And that's because I think there is so much integration that's natural to all of this.
Well, I think and you're kind of on a cusp, I think, because today a lot of them are still siloed, but yes, with things like Bing Social Search, where we're bringing multiple streams together, now you're going to, I mean, we've announced a bunch of partners we're going to work with. You'll see a lot more coming out in the next few months as well. But you're absolutely right. Making sure you think about your presence holistically across all these different areas is super important, because what we're going to be doing on the back end is the synthesis of all those signals and all that data into something that makes sense given the context of the query.
Right. So as always, I have to ask, what's next? What's in the queue for things?
Well, I'd love to tell you, but I have an electroshock collar permanently attached to the back of my spine. But I can tell you in broad strokes that the continued social integration, you'll see more networks coming in. And we have a backlog of a number of them, who some of them we've named already, some of them we haven't. So the challenge that we're finding now is simply, what's the best method, or what's the best way to expose those networks? Like, what's the right query to expose, say, a LinkedIn profile? You know, what is it? Is it a company? Is it when you see a specific intent thing around salary or job search or whatnot? Those are the kinds of questions we're asking, because you run the risk, obviously, of just putting too much in that sidebar, and then it becomes kind of this mishmash of social detritus, you know? Yeah, so really honing the intent models, understanding those intent models, so we can actually derive what you're actually asking, and then understanding which social corpus has the most relevant piece of information or person or whatever that might be in that catalog to show. We think that's actually, that's where it becomes just amazingly exciting.
Right. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, Stefan, and congratulations on the new release.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely.